Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up with the Forest Service, so I do have the cover letter for the desk guide, but it says, this guide does not supersede any existing plans or directives, nor is it a substitute for legally binding operating plans. It does not attempt to address all environmental concerns. Instead, it seeks to balance the requirements and needs of integrated forest, blah, 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 blah. I guess my question is, and you heard from the first panel where we're having problems with consistency even between ranger districts and definitely between forests. You know, why can't existing right-of-ways fall under categorical exclusion for maintenance?
Oftentimes they can, and they do. It depends on the level and activity of disturbance and the controversy that activity may generate, and the types of other resources that may be affected. Typically on a normal right-of-way where you're not doing things that are controversial, like applying herbicides,
well, that's controversial in certain quarters, but in any case, yeah. But I mean, the point is, why isn't, but I mean, at what level can you not? I mean, is there general guidance in your desk guide that, except for unusual and extraordinary circumstances, these should be categorically excluded activities?
No, I think our guidance is to follow the NEPA policy of the agency and determine the appropriate level based on what the work that's being
So if you wanted, you know, and how about if we were to develop a plan for integrated vegetation management, which is appropriate for the affected ecosystem, could we then go to categorical exclusions?
Here, a scenario I could see in responding to the gentleman's suggestion on how we move more effectively is, we do work with the utility, develop a management plan that covers multiple years, do NEPA once, and that's covered, and then as long as we maintain and renew that, once that NEPA's expired or no longer appropriate, I would think that we could maintain that existing situation once we have it in place with a much lower level of analysis. Sometimes
still, yeah, I'm still having trouble with this. I mean, you know, how about this issue we're having in Oregon where we have existing rights of way, the towers are there, but the forest says, no, you got to apply for a right of way. It's like a new right of way.
The only thing I can say about that is we have a lot of rights of way on national forests that predate the requirements for permits, and so trying to track the records, it's obvious that the developments are there and it's being used, and I think the example with Bonneville Power Administration of how we're going to resolve that in long term is probably the course of action that we should explore more broadly.
Mm-hmm. But I just, you know, I mean, again, and the example I used was, you know, we lack early cereal on West Side Oregon. If we just said, okay, we know it would be beneficial for a whole range of species, and it would be compatible with industry guidelines if they developed this, if they removed the coniferous vegetation and, you know, and we allowed early cereal stage development, which doesn't get to heights, which would be problematic. And managed for that. I mean, it seems to me that this, you know, there just needs to be a simplified process here. I mean, your people, you know, you're not overstaffed in your agency. You have a lot more important things to do than, you know, over-regulating existing rights of way and or going through a repetitive process or a new process for an existing right of way because you don't have the paperwork from 1934. Or there wasn't any in 1934. So, you know, again, I'm concerned. What the MOU that BLM is going to develop, is it going to, what is that going to allow for categorical exclusions and you know, integrated vegetation management?
Yes, Congressman DeFazio, and I think the one example from Congressman Tipton's own area where we've actually built on that integrated veg management on the Uncompahgre Plateau. We've worked with the local community, the other land management agencies, and the utilities to find a way to build the corridor into a mosaic landscape with the early cereal, as you discussed, so that you have better habitat for wildlife, and you have better fire resilience and resistance. You can fight the fire better, and we're using that line as a fire break. And so it really is, I think, we like to think that we're getting to a place where we're smart from the start, where we meet with these utility companies early and talk to them about the full needs that they're going to have through the life of that right-of-way, that we use the cohesive strategy, as I mentioned in my testimony, and try to figure out how can we meet multiple objectives in the most efficient manner. And that's going to take cooperation up front. And I met with quite a few of the members who spoke today, and we are committed to work with them and listen to them and work up.
My time's expired. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.